Today we're diving deep into the massive Werewolf overhaul coming with Update 50. This isn't a small balance pass. This is a full redesign of how the Werewolf plays, sustains, transforms, and deals damage. We've got a lot of information about this over the last several months. First of all, the devs have been talking about it in their live streams. And then, of course, Monday, we got a ton of information about this in the Week 1 public test server patch notes. There's a lot to go over here, so let's go ahead and hop right into it. Before we get into the ability changes, we need to understand why ZOS rebuilt the Werewolf from the ground up. They said the goal was simple. They wanted to make the Werewolf easier to enter. Also, easier to sustain, more fun to play, and more flexible for different builds, and that's one thing I'm really excited about. I've always wanted to tank with a Werewolf, but in the past it's been a bit difficult to do at times. Previously, they said the Werewolf broke a lot of rules. Your ultimate was overridden, your sustain was punishing, your timer consistently drained, and the form felt like it was almost its own mini-game instead of part of ESO's combat system. Update 50 will change that. You still use ultimate, you still generate ultimate, and you now gain access to a new ultimate level ability while transformed. They said it will feel a lot smoother, a lot more intuitive, and far more modern than it has in the past. So first up is going to be Fury. Your Werewolf bar now houses a new resource that builds as you use Werewolf abilities in combat. You gain 15 Fury per ability. Fury will cap at 1,000. It does not decay. You lose it only when you go out of the Werewolf form. So if you de-transform, you will lose that Fury or those Fury points. Passives and morphs can increase your Fury generation, and some abilities generate Fury multiple times per cast. And when you hit 1,000 Fury, your ultimate becomes to a stage of Rampage. This will consume all of your Fury. It will grant 20 seconds of power, plus 20% movement speed, plus 15% damage done, and all of your Werewolf abilities will cost 0, including maintaining the transformation. Rampage temporarily disables your ability to recast your Werewolf transformation, creating that loss of control fantasy. This is your big kind of execute phase. You're tearing everything apart window. So this is pretty interesting how they have done this. And everything I have heard so far from the public test server, everything I have read, a lot of people say the Werewolf feels really good. It's more of that kind of scary idea that they're going with. They said they wanted to make the Werewolf a true Werewolf. They wanted it to feel damaging when you used it, tearing and biting. And that's really what they've gone for here. And I think they've done a good job so far from everything I have read and seen. The next thing up is Prowl and Slaughter. The Werewolf will also get 2 new mechanics. Prowl will replace Crouch. It reduces enemy detection radius by 66%. It grants stealth detection and helps set up Slaughter kills. Now, Slaughter is a new assassination synergy. It works like the Blade of Woe or the Vampire Feed, so kind of the same idea there. And mostly they said this is for fun, but extremely strong in high difficulty content. And these mechanics will add flavor without complicating the combat loop. So think of it once again like Blade of Woe, or like when you feed with a vampire, the Slaughter mechanic will be that kind of thing for the Werewolf class. Pounce and Carnage also saw a rework. They are now one adaptive ability. Pounce appears when you're 7 meters plus away. Carnage takes over when you're within 7 meters or closer. This removes that clunky 2-step system. The costs are dramatically lower, durations are longer, and the morphs have clearer identities. Brutal Pounce, which is the large radius, Carnage dot stacks up to 3 times, and longer uptime, which equals more AoE pressure. Feral Pounce, which grants 200 stamina per hit, generates extra Fury, and sustain plus the Fury engine. This kind of will make it feel just smoother in general to use this. Instead of like it said, that kind of old clunky two-step system that we've had, of course, before update 50. Piercing Howl is now gone, and Gash replaces it as a melee double plus bite. So you're looking at a 7-meter range, 2 hits, which is physical plus bleed. Your second hit deals 200% bonus damage to targets under 25% HP. The cost is massively reduced, and it consumes blood hunger stacks for bonus damage. And the morphs specialize into bleed pressure or armor shredding plus self-healing. This is definitely an execute tool that you could use. Depending on how you want to go with the morph, you can get the blood, or you could get the armor shredding plus self-healing for yourself. So that 200% bonus damage to targets under 25% HP, of course, this is going to be a big execute pressure style tool. Roar now has a cast time to match its animation, a larger radius, and a drastically lower cost. It now applies Blood Hunger, a stacking buff that empowers Gash and Claw Fury. Roar also becomes the new home of Feeding Frenzy, a synergy that now lasts 30 seconds, increases damage done by 6%, and grants minor force. The morph split into tanking or group support. We have Deafening Roar, which gives you major maim plus cowardice, grants major evasion plus minor protection, and also upgrades Gash to taunt when you are blocking. For Ferocious Roar, it will grant major courage to you and your allies, gives 2 blood hunger stacks, and you can use your own synergy. Roar will now be a buff for you and, of course, your group, depending on how you decide to use it. When it comes to claws, they have also reworked it as well. First up, we have the initial hit plus physical damage, dot equals bleed, dot duration will be shortened to 10 seconds, dot scaling massively increased, applies sunder and hemorrhaging, and hits up to 6 different targets. The Claw Fury, a 4.8 second channeled cone attack, hits up to 13 times. Generates Fury plus Blood Hunger each second, and a damage increase of 25% per Blood Hunger stack, and it consumes all the stacks at the end. Blood Claws initially heals for 40% of the damage. The dot heals for 6.2% max health per tick, and they said this is in line kind of now as clearer identities of AoE Shredder, self-healer, or Fury Generator. So now you will kind of know what you get depending on what you want to use with this. Hircine's Bounty, which I'm sure I've completely butchered the name of, but the cost is reduced, the healing is slightly reduced, and now it will restore 10 to 20% max stamina based on your current HP. For the Fortitude, you will get healing reduced, stamina restored, increased, and now grants major vitality when slotted. And if you decide to use Rage, that now heals based on offensive stats, grants up to 12% increased damage done and taken, generates double Fury, and grants minor Berserk while slotted. They said this line now supports both defensive and offensive playstyles depending on how you want to build that werewolf class. And for Devour, this will be your major sustain tool. Minor movement, Grace Window. Healing increased from 40% to 100% max health. Each tick grants 15 ultimate. Activating Devour disables a werewolf's ultimate drain for 12 seconds. And Berserk generates Fury each tick, even out of combat. They said this will now be a core part of the werewolf sustain loop. And for the passives, we have Master of the Chase, which the heavy attack restores only at rank 2. Blood Rage now increases Fury generation by 5 and 10. Feral Cruelty, the weapon and spell damage bonus increased to 16 and 33%. And Call of the Hunt reduces ultimate drain cost. Passives now support the new Fury Rampage loop. And that's everything for the Werewolf Overhaul in Update 50. This will definitely feel more modern, more fluid, and a lot more fun to play than it really has ever been in ESO before. So if you're a long-time Werewolf fan, long-time Werewolf main, or someone who's been wanting to try it out, I think this update is definitely going to be the one where you want to go all in on that werewolf class. Now, some of this can change between now and, of course, the end of the public test server before Update 50 launches. And some of this is still liable to change even after Update 50 is out. When you start reworking so much stuff within a certain class or, build or abilities or whatever in game, things seem to change because sometimes they miss stuff and it's either too strong or too weak. So we'll have to wait and see, of course, what changes over the next couple of weeks. But like I said, everything I have heard about the testing within the public test server, it's going really well, and a lot of people are liking the werewolf class. A lot of people are liking the new look. A lot of people are liking how kind of vicious the class is now, and I think it's going to be a really fun one for anyone to use, no matter what type of build you want to make, because it does sound like we're going to be able to use this a lot better than we could in the past within a damage dealer, a tank, or a healer now. So there's a lot of different ways that you can make your werewolf class work for you. Leave me a comment with your thoughts. Let me know what you think. And, of course, if you like the video, hit the like. If you have not subscribed yet, please do so, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.